today. At this point, just buy the original Intellivision. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint. I can't believe it's already the end of November.
No kidding. And I don't think it helped that December snuck in and ate the end of November before we could get to it.
Yeah. It really feels like it's... Hang on. 8?
Yeah. Gobbled it all up. Bones and all. Horrific month-on-month vor.
That's an evocative way of describing it.
As a writer, I aim to paint a vivid mental picture.
I wish you wouldn't.
I use lots of red.
It's Sonic's 30th anniversary, and what better way to celebrate than giving Sonic his own movie? Sonic the Hedgehog 3 has just entered production, which, as you can tell by the title, is based on the third game in the beloved franchise, the one where Knuckles shows up. You might be surprised to see from the teaser image that this time out Sonic will be black instead of blue, but that's because in the original game, Sonic unknowingly released an alien symbiote created by the Dark Elder God Null and then merged with it to become Venom Sonic. Also, a brand new character named Shadow the Hedgehog will make his debut in this film. Little is known about Shadow, including his voice actor, but this reporter is hoping he'll be voiced by the guy who played Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, Chris Pratt!
If you're one of the folks who have pre-ordered the Amico, the revitalization of the Intellivision brand, and are eagerly awaiting your physical console, keep doing that. But the good news is that Amico have released a beta of the mobile app that turns your smartphone into a controller for the console that doesn't exist yet. And now you can connect it to your TV and play 2 of the games they've been developing for the console that doesn't exist yet. But why? Why doesn't it exist, and why make this app? Well, the answer to both questions is the same. Money. They need more funding. According to Amico CEO Phil Adam, who's taken over outward messaging ever since the public perception of Tommy Tallarico took a big oof, he says, "Our ability to begin manufacturing Amico consoles in volume requires securing additional investment. The release of Amico Home puts us on a better footing to attract such investment or to eventually fund manufacturing from the proceeds of Amico Home game sales. We remain dedicated to moving Intellivision forward step by step until we can deliver on the full version of Amico, including the consoles." Reminder that they already crowdfunded this thing back in 2020 and then tried and failed to crowdfund more in 2022. One might think that this could be an indication that there is no market for this product and maybe the world doesn't need a much worse Nintendo Switch. One might think.
If you've never thought about how your actions affect the relative morality of your life, don't worry, Baldur's Gate 3 is there to do it for you. Baldur's Gate 3 built an interesting system to decide whether or not you've successfully snuck around committing theft and murder where no one could see you. But the scrying eyes in Moonrise Towers were the worst kind of little brothers, just calling the guards on you every time you crimed, regardless of whether or not they saw you do it, or if you were sneaking, or even invisible. Patch 4 fixed that, with a promise that the eyes would narc you out only if they saw you take that candy from the person you just murdered. Except that introduced a new problem. Said Larian, quote, "This fix had the unintended consequence of causing unnoticed thefts and acts of vandalism to remain stuck forever within the 'did anyone see me' pipeline, rather than timing out and moving on as is intended. Essentially, your dungeon master, in a real-world sense, constantly thinks about the acts of theft and violence the player keeps doing without ever moving on or verbalizing them, mulling on it ad infinitum. And since the game's DM can't stop thinking about just what you've done, it starts to bog down with each new action and eventually becomes laggy as hell. Larian is confident patch 5 will fix this issue, but pour one out for the closest you'll ever get to Captain Kirking the Nomad probe with your murder hobo shit.
November is already over, and yet there's so much news to round up and make well-deserved fun of. And you know what that means? It's time for QuickPoints. First up, shopping. Do you need to find a gift for your parents this holiday season? Hoping to build a bridge between your life and theirs? Well, why not get them a customized, officially licensed Yorkshire Tea controller for either Xbox or PS5? Sure, they're £150, but that's a small price to pay for a limited run item with custom printed components. And also, given how the economy is and how wealth is distributed, you can't afford anything your parents want anyhow, so it looks like a real bargain. Next, money. Updating Epic's latest lawsuit, this one against Google, CEO Tim Sweeney has taken to the stand, saying that Google's offers to Epic to get Fortnite on the Play Store seemed like a crooked arrangement. Google was proposing a series of side deals which seemed designed to convince Epic not to compete against them, which kinda seems like the point of getting a bunch of money to be an exclusive, but I'm not Epic's $150,000 legal expert, so what do I know? And then he also super admitted under cross-examination that Project Liberty, that's the eye-rollingly Ayn Rand fanboy-esque nickname that Epic used to refer to sneaking in alternate payment systems for Fortnite's V-Bucks to bypass Google's 30% cut. He knew that that would violate the terms of Epic's deal with Google, which also seems like a really foolish thing to admit publicly since they're currently being sued for that. But I know, again, I'm not a legal expert, so why should they listen to me? But I do have an offer. Epic, give me $5,000 and cover my travel expenses, and I'm going to sit in the gallery and make this gesture every time Tim Sweeney runs his mouth. And finally, the Game Awards nominations are out, and surprisingly, for a show that's essentially a hyper-slick montage of advertising and self-congratulations with an added soupçon of stage crashing to keep the plebs watching, there's actually some interest in the awards this year. And by interest, I mean controversy. Dave the Diver, Mint Rocket's deep-sea exploration/sushi restaurant management game with pixel-style graphics, is nominated for Best Indie Game. Great! Except that Mint Rocket is a subsidiary of Nexon, a company that reported $2.65 billion in revenue last year. So is it indie? Well, according to Jeff Keighley, independent can mean different things to different people. But according to most people, the answer is, are you shitting me? Of course not. And in further devastating news, Keighley has also announced they'll be beefing up security, so not just any old lunatic can walk up to the stage and interrupt the proceedings with bizarre tirades. And really, if they're going to do that, what's the point of even watching?
You know, some of those quick points aren't all that quick. My Sonic story had fewer words than either of the quick points about Dave the Diver or the Epic lawsuit.
Be easier giving away all our inside secrets.
Am I? You're the one who wrote this outro. Sure, you staged it like a conversation, but I had no input into it. Don't accuse me of something you did to yourself on purpose.
These little back and forths really are like our own Black Mirror, aren't they?
Are they? You've never seen a single episode of that show, and you're not even sure that reference works. You had to Google it.
The teleprompter there says I've, first person for that line. I've never seen an episode of that show.
No, it doesn't.
Coming up, Valve accidentally released Terror Strike, a super early Left 4 Dead prototype, after the code was somehow included in a Counter-Strike update. The company spotted the mistake almost immediately, and all the code has been removed, which of course means the game is now freely available to play everywhere online. Download it today!
I think we got that too.
I guess we don't actually have any, like, post-show stuff.
That'll be fine. If Heather sees anything else that might have been recorded, I guess she can figure it out, but yeah. Everything was done out of order this week, and I know you probably wouldn't have a clue about that, but Kathleen and I were never in the same room together.
Never.
Never.